And hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast, the only video game show. So today I am joined by 1/3 of the Beard Bros crew and professional Pokemon enthusiast Alex Faciane.
Hi. Hello.
Hello. So we'll start with the basic introduction of yourself, if you don't mind.
Well, I am a guy who has been doing stuff on the internet longer than a lot of people who are younger than me. I don't know. I've been around for a long time. I started doing like funny articles back in like, I don't know, 2010, 2011 and was, sort of just like doing stuff like a company would send me a review, like a review copy of a game, and I read a review, or I'd like go to an event like E3 or like a press event. I was just basically doing like freelance article writing for a long time. And then one time, Gerard, who is the completionist on YouTube, he had a podcast that he was doing years and years and years ago with his old co-host Greg that was called DLC. And they were looking for somebody to talk about E3 with who wasn't a YouTuber but was like a games media person. And I was the person they knew of through a mutual friend. And we went and saw a pre-screening of Brave together, of all movies, at the LA Film Fest. And we like met, and he was like, "Come try being on the show." And I don't know what happened. I don't know how I got like looped into like spending all my time making YouTube videos, but somehow along the line we had a good rapport. We like did some more episodes. I did some live streaming with Gerard back in the day, early Twitch. We started doing Beard Bros just because we thought we had a good vibe going. And then I made the decks shortly thereafter. Maybe like 6 months or so after Beard Bros started, I made the decks, and that ran pretty continuously for like 5 or 6 years. And Beard Bros is still going. We added Brett in like early 2019. I think it's been popping off. I think it's been good. And I've done a bunch of other stuff all over the place. I wrote for Game Theory for a long time, for like a year. I did all the like Five Nights at Freddy's videos back in the day for Game Theory. Oh boy, I don't know. I've done a bunch of, I've written stuff all over the place. I've ran some indie game related things, and then lately I started writing video games. So it's been a wild ride, and I'm on a bunch of podcasts too. Scary Game Squad.
Okay, then. And when did you first become interested in video games?
I was like a pretty natural candidate for video games. I was young. I was a nerd. I was like, I didn't have many friends at school, but I had friends in my neighborhood. And my neighbor, Brandon, he had a Super Nintendo, and a couple of friends when I was younger had NESs, which I thought were really cool. And I had a lot of fun playing them at my friends' houses. And then my first console ever that I got for Christmas one year. I remember we got a brand new TV, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever from Santa, like a tube TV. And then I got a Sega Genesis with Sonic 3, and that just like blew my tits off. That was like the coolest shit. And I've never been one of those people who like, you talk to people, they're like, "Oh, like when I was in college, I just like wasn't a gamer." Like I have lost a significant portion of my life to video games. I spend way too much time playing them.
Okay, and what would you say was your favorite game and or games growing up?
Like back when I was super duper young, I think the favorites was like Mario World and Pokemon. But then obviously I really loved like Sonic when I got my own video games. And I remember my friend's brother, who was a little older, he was playing Final Fantasy IV, and I got really into that. I remember the first time I saw somebody play GoldenEye. That was like a big game for me when I was younger. And I got into Metal Gear and Final Fantasy and Pokemon and Dragon Quest, the hardest when I was younger. Those are like my big games. When I was like in my formative years, let's say.
Okay, and what would you say is your favorite game and or games now?
I definitely like love Pokemon still. Like you can imagine like doing a game, like doing a show about Pokemon for years and years, like can like erode your enthusiasm for something. You know, like just because it's you're waking up every week and forcing yourself to make videos about the same subject all the time. But I
Mm-hmm.
still just love the like basic of it and like the like world of it and all the creatures and I still like am into the Pokemon games. I didn't go super hard on Pokemon Let's Go because I like sort of like I got intimidated by streaming it and it just like made me not do it. But I'm really excited for Sword and Shield. Favorite games now, other things that I like really love now still is like Metal Gear. I'm like really, really deep in The Witcher right now. I just finished playing Red Dead. I platinum Dragon Quest 11 earlier. I'm still repping that Dragon Quest. Probably harder than anyone in the world who speaks only English. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean those are my big games right now. Am I missing something? I mean, is there something that you're like, oh man, he's lying. He talks about this all the time. I played Destiny for a long time and Monster Hunter.
Yep. Heard many of that in Beard Bros episodes past.
For sure. Destiny was good, man. That's a good game. Bungie just makes good shooters. They just feel good. Can't deny it.
I guess not. So I found you guys out way back in the day when Gaijin Goomba made his episode talking about how France, the Kalos region, was and is. And extremely brief tangent. One of my last year of school, one of my teachers who was from France showed her that particular video and she loved it.
Great.
And so, yes, back in the day when for like a split second I thought you and Pokekells were actually like kids show hosts just because like LeVar Burton, like the really good kids show host, just because that's the vibe I got in the first episode I saw of you guys in the decks.
Yeah, we were definitely going for like a Bill Nye sort of like Alton Brown kind of vibe. I don't know if you ever watch Alton Brown or Bill Nye, but it's like exactly what we were going for. Or like that show Brainiac was a big one for me when I was younger. I loved that. I love that show with the dude from Top Gear, and we just tried to give it that sort of flavor.
So you've mentioned some of the Dex podcasts and quite a few of the videos you've been in with Pokekells that you went quite extreme on Pokemon back in the day before you made the Dex and became part of TOVG. So like what
happened there?
What was it and what is it now, both like then and now, about the Pokemon franchise that made you just go like fall in love hard with it?
I think for me, like the main thing is just like I love like charts and numbers and planning. Like I really love Dragon Quest the same way. It's like I love being able to look at my moves and decide what I'm going to do and like strategize and kind of like have that like chess like sort of like mindset. And as much as I love the world and I love the setting and I love the art style and all that stuff and the music, you know, I love all that stuff. But like really the thing that like made me like almost fail out of college because of Pokemon was because I was just so obsessed with building teams. I just love like the process, like how it's kind of tedious and repetitive. And like, I just love that sort of vibe. I love that sort of like you plan it out and then you execute it and you like slowly get more and more efficient at it. I just love that feeling. And I think Pokemon really nails that. And that's a pattern in games that I like. You know, things like Monster Hunter, things like Destiny, where you're planning out your gear for like specific strategies and stuff like that. I just think that is like so fun. And to me, like the way that relaxes me in my brain, I guess. I don't know. Like I've always like even when I was a kid, like that was what was cool about it. Like I wasn't even battling people that much. You know what I mean? I just like loved planning out the teams and making them. And when I did battle people, I would like a lot of the times like my friends would get bodied because they had no idea that like my teams represented like 400 hours of like engineering. uh but they're just like, you know, trying to have a friendly match or whatever. But like I mean, I literally would just not sleep for 3 days and just race Pokemon when I was in college. Like I was such a bad student. It was crazy. It was crazy how much I played it. I think each game I put like 500 to 600 hours in. Like all the Gen 4 games, all the Gen 5 games. I just like when I was in college just continued to play it.
I remember when I actually started to put some brain thinking into the meat and potatoes of Pokemon. I remember getting quite into it. In my second playthrough of Pokemon X, so like pretty much my favorite Pokemon is Shedinja, and I became obsessed with it when I like rewatched your guys' video of it like 2 or 3 times, and I realized that you can only catch Nincada from which it evolves from in one specific part of one route in Pokemon X, and so I dedicated like a bunch of my time to finding it. And not to get too far off topic, but I remember go rival Jimmy's the extra dex on Shedinja because it was my favorite Pokemon. I zeroed in on that, and thanks to his move suggestions, I remember specifically being able to just absolutely tank and effortlessly take down like I think a fully trained Dialga because it didn't have anything that Shedinja was weak against.
It's so a troll if you don't know. Same thing with Gliscor. You're like, golly.
Oh, I think I also did that when someone had an Arceus too.
Arceus is a punk. One time I was in a tournament. Like you'll see like in the general population of people, like I always think about it in terms of like, well, when I go to the tournament with everybody who's trying to win at Pokemon, but like I entered into a tournament at GameStop one time and I won my way all the way to the final match, like no problem. And when I got to the final match, the reason that I lost was because the guy had 4 Darkrai's and I was just using my EV trained team of like, you know, OU ass guys. And I was battling someone just before the match, and I had a Ponyta that was like level 5 on my team because I was like handicapping myself one Pokemon. I just thought it was funny to have a little Ponyta, and so I like tried to win with the Ponyta, but like, the training, the EV training of your Pokemon is so much more valuable than like the legendary status. And I think when I was a kid, I was so much more into getting those legendaries because I thought they were like the gods. When really, like, if I was a kid now and I like fought my younger self, I would be like schooling myself with like regular Pokemon. It's like so funny.
Yeah. So I think it was because your guys' Gen 6 episodes at the time that Pokemon X was the first Pokemon game I ever actually beat, and a few years later I have played through and conquered every region currently available at least once.
Yeah, I mean, man, I always think I'm not going to buy both games, and then I just like do. I just like play both games and beat both games, and I'm just like, why did I do that? I just like played the same game twice, but I don't know. I'm just like obsessed.
So yeah, moving on from that, someone whose knowledge of TOVG, that's that one video gamer, is limited exclusively to the videos you guys put up and those sometimes in between bits you post. Like, how did you become like a part of it?
I literally like it was just all through that podcast that I did back in the day. Like I never thought that I was a permanent part of it, but like he just kept calling me to be back on. And so like I guess I was. And then we were, back in the day, we used to work out of Gerard's bedroom. And I was there one day waiting to do that show. And he was like, I also did some like live streaming stuff. Like I'd like call in to his Twitch chats back in the day. But he literally was just like, I had an idea that we could do like a Let's Play show together. And we tried it, we tried it and it was like doing okay. We tried actually first we tried the game, what's it called? The remake of Metal Gear Solid on GameCube. Twin Snakes, I think it's called. We like tried to do that and it was like a failure. And then we did Sonic and Knuckles and it was just like perfect vibes and we had a great time doing it. And the microphone that I'm talking to you on right now, which is one of those like Blue Yeti microphones,
Mm-hmm.
It is the same exact one that we originally recorded Beard Bros on. We crowd around it on one microphone back in the day. And we just like put it in between us and the screen on like Gerard's desk. And we just play on like a little 17-inch screen. And it's just so crazy that like, since then we like did the bedroom thing for a while. And then Gerard was like, I'm going to make this into a real company. So we like just sort of organically moved into like an office environment. And it was like a big struggle to like make that adjustment. But like, that's kind of how it is. That's what it's been. And there's just a lot of moving parts and, we all have our fingers in a lot of things. Like I recently, like I did the like reboot of Defend It that came back like a year ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just like, I'll write completionist episodes sometimes, or I'll help out, or we'll do sketches. And it's all kind of like, we really just do work on everything together now, but it's, it's a really crazy how that sort of came from nothing. Came from, just wearing laundry day clothes in Gerard's bedroom.
So, what is like a typical day of work in the TOVG offices like?
Well, I mean, it used to be a lot more disorganized and a lot of like sleeping on couches and eating and sleeping there. But, as we've been getting older, we want to have time to like go home and have families and like be with the people that we want to be with and have a good, like a life outside of work. And nowadays we have a good production staff and everything. And so the way it works is we come in on Mondays and we have a meeting. And that meeting is like our meeting for the week of like what's going to go on. And then we have like our sort of like week planned out for us. And my schedule is like I come in on the days where we do Beard Bros recording, which is like almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
To like stream for like 5 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and then on the days where that's not it, like I'll come in like on Wednesdays I don't record Beard Bros, for example. Brett does. And so I will like on the Wednesday I'll like work like I still work a million jobs besides TOVG, so I take that extra time to like work on Wonderling or on any of the other many various projects that I can't tell you about. But like, just like, I'll take that day and then I'll come in at like 6 p.m. and like do Scary Game Squad for the night. Like it's just like this sort of like home base where everybody's doing what we need to do. And there's a lot of other people in the office who rent space out, who like do their own things. And it's just kind of like a fun little like community of people trying to make stuff and having a good time and kind of rolling with the punches and kind of figuring out what our jobs are day by day.
Okay. And what would you say is your current favorite TOVG memory?
Oh man, I got a million of them. But the one I'm going to tell you about right now is, I think it was 2014 or 2015 SGC. I can't remember which one. I think 15. And it was like the last panel of the last day, and it was in the big room, and it was back when Screw Attack was still Screw Attack, back in the day. And we had a panel that was a Super Beard Bros panel that was like the finale of the whole con, and it was like one of those things where the first season or second season, I think we'd done 2 Kaizos already, which was like, if you don't know who I am and you're listening to this, like it's just like a super hard Mario ROM hack that we got pretty popular for doing playthroughs of because it's like funny how hard it is. It's like upsettingly hard. So the series was like popular, like more popular than we normally are. You know what I mean? Like it was just kind of like this sort of breakout thing for Beard Bros that was doing really well. And so I think people were excited to see. We shot the season premiere of the 3rd game of Kaizo live at Screw Attack, and joining us on the table was Proton John, who's like one of the original Let's Players and a great guy, and Pro Jared, who's also the homie, right? And so we were chilling and we were trying to do this, and there was like a glitch or something that happened because we didn't have our normal setup, because we were playing normally off of, somebody sent us ROM cartridges that were like custom cartridges, like repros that were like flashed with the actual ROM. but that wasn't good for us at this con, because it had to go into this huge display and go to these TVs and all this stuff. So we had this roundabout way of doing it, and whatever it was that caused it was like there was like 2 seconds of lag on the controller, and the game was like glitching out. Like Chargin' Chuck was like turning into an egg flying off screen. His head would turn into an egg. He'd like float away. It was totally insane. And we played the first level for the whole panel. We played it for an hour straight. We thought we weren't gonna make it. And right at the last second, we beat it. And it was just this huge. Everybody was clapping. Everybody was applauding. There was way more people there than are normally at our panels. And right when we finished, it was like the end of the con and our flights were leaving. We had to just like get in a limo and like go to the airport and like fly away. It was so surreal. It was so crazy. It felt like the end of The Wiz, if you've ever seen that movie. It just felt like totally nutty.
It sounds awesome. So yes, I had the good fortune of being able to play this at the most recent PAX East, where I ran into you and Gerard and the developers of this game, well, dressed in my more absurd, the more I think about it, cosplay, or as Big Debbie.
Yes.
Little Debbie's extremely angry
I remember
grandparents.
Big Debbie. I remember Big Debbie. You gave me a moon pie, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
And yes, so if we were at a PAX or a gaming convention of that sort and someone was walking by and you were there, what would be the rundown you would give them as to what the game Wonderling is?
So Wonderling is this great game that's by these Swedish game developers from Gothenburg, which is a good little scene right now. They hang out with, they're like in a little sort of like community with like the Flipping Death guys, Alwa's Awakening guys, the Steam World crew, all those people, they all hang out and they're in this really cool community. And Wonderling is sort of like the first sort of like game by Retroid. They do a lot of porting, and they made like a fun like party game called Picto Party back in the day. That if you watch Super Beard Bros, there's a really famous video that we did with that game with Jesse Cox and Dodger, where everybody calls me Cool Man, and this is where the video that we did with their game was where that came from, and so. This is their first game that's not like a party game or something. This is like their first like single player sort of like classic looking video game. And it's a platformer that is like, I'd say it's like a mix between like Super Meat Boy and like Captain Toad. You are in a world that is like a sort of like a parallel world to like what you'd think of when you think of like Mario or some other classic platformer. Like a parallel to that. Everybody's vegetables, so it's fun and wacky. But you play as this little yellow guy with a leaf coming out of his head, who's like the basic 1/1 like Goomba enemy for this evil witch. And after getting bopped by the protagonist, quote unquote, of the game, like the Mario character, you're like smushed. The witch like takes pity on you and her people, and she like raises you from the dead and basically finally gives a Goomba the ability to jump, which makes it possible for him to like get out of his like little back and forth loop that he's always in. You know? And so thematically, you know, that's where the story goes, is it's like, what if we like take Mario off the rails? Like, what does the story turn into? You know what I mean? But in terms of gameplay, you're exploring levels. You're always walking in one direction until you hit a wall. So you have like limitations on you, and you have to explore the levels and get to places and get to the end and find secrets. And it's kind of like a puzzle game that's like chill, and there's no like stakes. Like you can't like die and get a game over or anything like that. But you do have to like be good at platforming. And so it's a fun little mix between those two genres. And we're doing some cool stuff, like the bosses that we have in the game are going to be like you're going to be the boss and you're going to fight the protagonist, you know, like just fun stuff like that. And that's what it is. And it's I hope it breaks your heart. That's as the writer of the game, I hope that it breaks your heart, because I think I went farther than they even expected. And I tried to like really do right. I want like fan art. I want like sexy fan art and like theory videos. I want like theory crafting. So that's where my head is at.
Okay. And you mentioned at the PAX, at their booth, that you wrote pretty much the whole game. So like, when were you brought on board for it?
I officially got hired like in October of last year. They had the gameplay because it's kind of like based off an older cell phone game that some of them worked on. And it's funny because in that game you play as a cow, which, as you may know if you played the game, like one of the most main secondary characters is this cow. And they had the gameplay down, and they had the fact that it was going to be vegetables. Like they knew that they had the carrot guy, they had the witch, and they had the little Wunderling guy. But other than that, they didn't have any sort of story behind it, tying it all together, except for a few little bullet points that they wanted to hit, a couple little gags and things like that. And just the idea that it was going to be like this sort of like story about a Goomba who gets revenge. Like originally it was going to be like, when we were first talking about it, it was going to be much more of a like Conquer style game. Like with a lot of like, you know, fourth wall breaking, sort of like gross out humor and stuff like that. But as time went on, like I decided telling a story with heart was better. And, you know, we'd done a bunch of brand deals and stuff together in the past, and we'd come to PAX before to show off the game before I was working on the game. And, you know, I think they just think I'm funny, and we've been seeing each other at conventions for years now. And so they finally just in October, they asked me like, yo, like, do you want to like write this? And I was like, what does that mean? And so, yeah, I've been working on it. I flew to Gothenburg and like met the team for a couple days and just like talked to everybody and like unified with everyone, and like everybody's excited about it. I like showed people what I was talking about. Like I'd like do script readings with them. And it's just been really like a fun, validating experience, especially because so many people who came and played the game like it. And I'm really into that. I'm really excited by that.
Okay. And since Gerard the completionist isn't here to stop you from answering this question, I can now ask in the full confidence, how does it feel to be Shigeru Miyamoto, the creator of Mario?
You know, a lot of people ask me this, and I want to tell them, like, you know, it's not that big a part of my life. Like, yes, I made Mario. Yes, like, he's huge. He's popular. I made all these games. I made Zelda. I did all this stuff. But, like, that's not really, like, who I am, you know? Like, that's just sort of like a side hobby, and it was, like, pretty easy. So, like, I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it. You know, when people want to say hi or what's up or they want to autograph, I'm always happy to, you know, take care of that for them. But, you know, to me, the myth is more important than the man. And I think that it's grown beyond me, and it's not really a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I made it. Like it's, I've done a lot of other things too. Have you heard of Wonderling? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's for me. Shigeru Miyamoto. I don't want to get too big for my britches, but just it was easy. Just remember that when you think next time you say I'm a genius, just remember it was easy.
Okay. And now we've gotten to the final question, which everyone who's ever been on the show always understands perfectly. So, Alex, in your opinion, is video games?
No.
Okay, then. And
Is video games? No.
there you have it. Who better to answer the question than Shigeru Miyamoto himself?
But like I said, it's not a big deal. Don't let my opinion on the matter. Just because I made Mario, big whoop, big whoop, Mario. Don't give my opinion any more weight than you would anybody else's. That's what it truly means to be Shigeru Miyamoto.
Okay. And with that, it brings us to this particular episode of the Pumpkin Copter Cast to the close. I would like to thank Alex Miyamoto Faciane for joining me and entertaining my impossible dreams of video game talkdom.
No problem.
If any of the -7 people listening to this enjoyed what they heard, you can like and subscribe the Pumpkin Copter Cast on the YouTubes. On the rare occasions I post anything worth paying attention to, you can follow me on the Twitters at tgorman83. If for some reason you want to part with your monies, you can go to patreon.com/thepumpkincoptercast and give me as many or as little monies as you want. You don't have to, but it'll be forever appreciated. And yes, before we sign off, Alex, is there anything you wish to plug?
Please go to the game store right now, if you can, if you're hearing this. Go out, go to GameStop, go to whatever mom and pop store you have. I don't even care if you go on Amazon.com and purchase yourself a copy of Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age, and play it to completion. And then tell me that you aren't glad I told you to do it. How about that?
Okay.
Good little endorsement.
And yeah, this has been the Pumpkin Copter Cast, and as I say at the end of every one of these shows, have a gourd day.
Man, I was gonna say it does smell like pumpkins in here.
Yep. So we'll see all of you later.